Hi there, welcome to the archives. Part two. I wanted to come on here and do part two of sometimes accountability. Accountability requires some shame, which is why I had to delete the comment because it was too long and there's so much I wanted to say and that I needed to say. Otherwise, it's actually dangerous, right? Um, because not everybody is like Brittany and I, right? Not everybody is self reflective. Not everybody is intuitive. Not everybody is sitting there thinking about how they have hurt people. There's a difference. She brought up Darvo, but she didn't really get into it, and I didn't want to assume that the folks she was talking about were specifically abusers, right? But there's a difference. There's an absolute difference. Some people know what it is that they're doing and will continuously, repeatedly do those kind of dynamics to manipulate people, to break their self-esteem, to abuse them, to just, right? It's different. So I wanted to start first off by acknowledging the subtle ways in which we do it, because at some point most of us, if we're honest, have flipped the switch on somebody, right? Let's say one of your friends comes to you with a complaint, nothing big, right? Nothing big, like, hey, you didn't move the dishes, how come you didn't wash the dishes? And you're like, not you coming for me when your bedroom is like that. You know what I mean? Like, just little things. We will do certain things like that where we're just like, like, you of all people? No, 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 right? And so it does happen, right? Think of like your parent makes a comment or tries to correct you, and then you're just like, you bring up something that they did last week. Um, your wife comes to you with another complaint and now you're belittling her. It's different. There's levels to this, right? So I wanted to start with like, okay, yeah, we've all done it at some point. um the bait and switch. But what she was talking about was when she mentioned Darvo, that's a completely different thing. Now we're getting into like abusers and abusive situations. Now we're getting into repeated patterns. We're typically talking about people who know exactly what it is that they're doing, right? They're not doing it. There's a difference between me being so overwhelmed with shame that like in this moment I'm not able to address you, right? And there's a difference again between me being like, okay, let me go think about this and I'm gonna come back and have a conversation with you, compared to somebody who knows what it is that they're doing. They know. People know what it is that they're doing. This morning I went back and reviewed a human trafficking 101 webinar that I attended a while ago, and one of the examples that was given was survivors of human trafficking, which is also why I wanted to come back and do part two, because it can be a little bit victim blaming, right? Imagine being a survivor and being like, oh, now I have to compare myself to my abuser and have empathy for them, which is essentially what it is, right? No amount of empathy will save you from these people. Why would you even want to be in community? And this is what I had to ask myself. Why would you even want to be in community with somebody who thinks you're a loser? Why would you want to be in community with somebody who thinks you're beneath them, who thinks they're above you, right? Who doesn't care for your feelings? They're telling you, I don't care for your feelings. Stop with all of that whiny shit. Why would you want to be in community with that? And what happens is they find these types of people who are more empathic and who want to sit there and be like, oh my God, why did I do that? Why did you do that? Right? Because they know that they hooked you. Going back to the sex trafficking thing, Ayura, the sex trafficking thing. One of the examples that came up was, every time I get on here, one second, Ai, come on, mama, you don't need to do that. One of the examples that came up was like, perpetrators, right, of human trafficking. Let's say sex trafficking, for instance. What they'll do is then they'll get the survivors of human trafficking, the victim, to then do the human trafficking, right? They'll get them to recruit people. And what will happen is often the survivor will be the one that takes the blame, that takes the fall, that now she's sitting in prison when her pimp is out still pimping people. Because now it's like, well, she's the one who did it. I don't want you to do that, please and thank you. You don't need to do that. And don't give me a dirty look for that. You know what I'm saying? It's just, you don't need to do that. And that's why I wanted to... These girls are loud. I don't understand what's happening this morning. That's what I wanted to get on here and quickly say that is there's a difference. It's not all the same. Can I fly open? It's not all the same, right? If you noticed another thing yesterday, the word perfect came up, and that was also intentional because usually these types of people will say that. You bring something up to them, like, well, not everybody is perfect, right? That is part of the manipulation because, yeah, nobody is perfect. No shit. Nobody is perfect. I'm not asking you to be perfect, right? But that comes up because then that makes you feel guilty. And now you're like, yeah, nobody is perfect. Like exactly what I did. Nobody's perfect. And I've done this before. And now you're empathizing with them. That can become dangerous. Yes, recognize when you do it so you don't become an abuser in somebody else's life. But you also have to recognize when you're being played and that these people know exactly what it is that they're doing. Again, they see you as beneath them. They don't actually care about you. These are not your people, right? They tend to be abusers. And abuse is different from harm, right? Marion Kaba and I'm not Stacy, I don't remember their name. Folks in the transformative justice collectives will talk about the difference between harm and abuse. Abuse is a repeated harm. When it happens more than once, it is just repetitive, it's ongoing, right? That's what Brittany's talking about. It becomes abuse because now it's repeated. It's a pattern. You're dealing with the same thing from the same person for 20, 30, 40 years. You've never been able to air your own grievances because every time you bring it up to them, it gets spun on you. That's different from a one-off, right? That goes back to the structure of the systemic thing. And often men will do this because they know that they have the power to do that. They know that the system is in their favor, right? They know that they can manipulate you and just like now you're feeling bad and now you're feeling guilty, right? Narcissists will often do that. They will make their victims think that they are the narcissist. And so now you're being victimized, but you're the one who thinks that you're the aggressor. Again, I talked about this a couple episodes ago with the whole Gabby Petito case, right? There's a call made that says, oh, I see a man hitting a woman. Police get called, and now the police are like, oh, she's the aggressor. That is what we're talking about. It gets spun. It gets spinned on you. So yes, maybe we've done it, but it's not the same. It's absolutely not the same. And it's really dangerous to equate the two of them. So I had to come back on here and do a part 2 because they're not the same. An abuser using Darvo is very different than like me joking with my friend or me not being able to genuinely take accountability in a moment, reflect on it and feel bad and then have a conversation later, right? Because whenever I've done it, I've definitely recognized it and I felt bad. These people don't feel bad. They don't feel bad. They don't feel bad. They did it on, as a matter of fact, they did it on purpose. They know what it is that they're doing, right? So focus on the abuse. This is manipulation. This is control. This is a part of breaking you down, right? Because now they know that by flipping the script on you, they're not accountable anymore. They don't have to be accountable to you, which is the whole point. They don't want to be accountable to you. People who care about you are accountable to you. Shocking. I didn't learn that until 40. And I just turned 40 like 2 days ago, right? People who actually care about you, who are invested in you, who want a relationship with you, who love you, it's reciprocal. They want you to be in their life. They recognize, oh, you're bringing this to me because you care about a relationship. You want me to fix something so we can continue to be in relationship. They're not going to take it as an attack. They don't take it as an attack because their ego is not inflamed, right? It doesn't feel like an ego with death. Because they're not here to win. They're not here to one-up you. They're not in competition with you. They are in community with you. They are in community that has care. They care about you. It's reciprocal, right? That's a difference. So I just wanted to flag that. It's 11:11. I got to get going because I have a meeting coming up. But that's a difference. It's very, very different. There's a difference between somebody who genuinely is like, oh my God, I could not be accountable. Most of us struggle with accountability, yes. However, an abuser who knows the tactics that they're doing and who knows how to evade shame and accountability is very different. It's very different than a survivor of Darvo who repeatedly has had their mind played with. Right? Who's gaslit and lied to, and it's always a problem. That's different. It's a completely different thing. And I just wanted to come on here because it would be really irresponsible of me to not bring that dynamic up, right? To just act like, oh, everything is just all the same. It's not. There's levels to it. That's a multiplicity, right? We can at some point meet up and then completely veer off and be like, no, 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 this is not it. And so that's all I wanted to say is just, yes, accountability requires some level of shame. But if you're dealing with specific types of people, if this is an abuser, if this is a predator, if this is somebody who repeatedly does this, it's likely not going to change. If this is a narcissist, it's not going to change. It's going to continue to happen. And that's the abuse, right? The one-off harm, that's different. That's not abuse. Harming somebody every now and then, that's not abuse. Abuse is repeated patterns. It happens over and over and over again. That's abuse. That's the difference between harm and abuse. Abuse is just repetitive. You do over and over and over. It's not one time, it's 2 times, 100 times. 10 years down the road, you're still dealing with the same shit. That's different, right? And I had to come on here and do part 2 because otherwise it is victim blaming. Otherwise you are asking victims who have repeatedly been in this situation to now consider an abuser. I'm not going to consider my oppressor and think about, right? That it's not only is it fair, it's actually quite damaging. And it is victim blaming. So I just wanted to come on here and say that, right? It's completely different. A victim of sex trafficking who is coerced and forced into recruiting somebody into sex trafficking is not the same as a pimp. It's not the same thing as a human trafficker. It's not the same thing. And yet, in these cases, which is why I had to come back here, it's often the woman, the survivor, the victim, who is now feeling awful, sitting with all of that guilt, ruminating, thinking about it. Oh my God, did I do this right? That's part of the abuse. You didn't do anything wrong. Yes, sit down, negotiate your shame so you can receive criticism or constructive feedback or whatever, right? But at the same time, we have to be aware that some people are not going to change. They want to keep you right where you are, with playing small, right beneath them, right? They'll never be accountable. They never want to hear how they're doing anything to hurt anybody. Because again, like I said yesterday, it really... Do I smell good? Or no? Hi, Mama. It is intentional. They know what it is that they're doing. The intent is to harm you. It is to gaslight you. It is to keep you really small. And that's different. That's all. It's just different. You can't, there is no comparing the two. And so as much as I want us to be accountable for our own stuff, I also want us, no thank you. I also want us to be mindful that when we're getting played and when we are in abusive situations, and again, why would we want that? Why would we want to be, and I'm asking myself that, because that's often what happens, right? We don't think we're worth it. We don't think anybody's better. We actually don't think there's anybody that will do that for us. We've never seen it modeled. So we're just like, well, I'm just going to take you. I'm just going to, the enemy, right? The devil, it's just the lesser evil. And that's like, no, we don't want lesser evils. We don't want no evil. How about you go over there with your evil, right? And so leave these people, because I think that's what I'm learning is what's happening now is a lot of these people are walking away from them, right? And they have to deal with and interact with each other. And that's really hard. And that's actually how they became that way, because now they're having to deal with other people who are also minimizing them. They also can't make complaints, right? Because they know what it's like. They've also been in that situation. And so now when we remove ourselves from them, it's just like, we just have to remove ourselves from them until it's safer. As hard as it is. And that's, again, not to say go into isolation and individualism and all of that, but like, don't allow these times to force you to be in community with people who are dangerous for you. Don't allow these times to build community with people who do not have your best interests. Do not allow these times to go back to abusive situations just because you would rather have somebody that you know than nobody that you know, right? Those people are also not for you. They also lean into fascism heavy. So that's all. 14 minutes. It's not the same. Some people know what it is that they're doing, and they're using it intentionally to manipulate you, right? Have a good day, and until next time, in solidarity.